What is good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video and discussion. Today, we're going to be talking about, you guessed it, Metroid Dread. You can see it in the title, and this is by far the best thing that we're going to talk about here that has happened to Metroid Dread. I would say the Metroid franchise and just Nintendo in general, particular to this game. It couldn't really get any better than what is going on right now at this point with the multiple different controversies and other things I will be discussing with Metroid Dread and the Metroid franchise as a whole. But before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. And once again, sorry for any bad audio or background noises. I'm still using my secondary setup here. Now let's go ahead and get right into it. And we're starting off with some of the controversies. Now, I discussed this in a live stream that I had a couple of days ago, and it was a very interesting stream because we had a lot of different people come with different opinions. And of course, you guys know how I speak on my streams. It was just kind of freely discussing about things and kind of going back and forth. But I do feel that it was a good discussion to talk about some of these things because I think it brings up exactly what I'm going to talk about when it comes to the publicity and the fact that so many people are talking about Metroid Dread that even if they say something negative, it's actually even a positive at this point. I mean, you know the old saying when it comes to, just in general, like any publicity is good publicity. So I do feel that that's definitely happening right now at this point, but I think it's even amplified a bit more by quite a number of the different things that are happening across the internet with this game. So it's just something that I want to discuss in detail a bit more here because as of right now, and I've been checking the sales. Now we're going to get the Famitsu sales pretty soon here today. We're going to get them as of the time that you're watching this video. The Famitsu sales should be going live for how the game did in Japan. Now we know how it did in the UK. We know that it's probably selling best here in the US based off of a number of different pre-order charts and also Amazon sales because it's #1 on Amazon. It's still the #1 game being sold hourly and also the #1 game being sold in new releases. Not a better game in terms of physical game being sold at a higher clip than Metroid Dread, which is by far probably a first for the franchise in anything when it comes to outselling some of these other big games at any retailer. Metroid never does that. So it's very good to see Metroid at the top of a huge worldwide retailer like Amazon, but of course in the biggest market in the world. But yes, all publicity is good publicity at this point because people are talking about Metroid Dread. People are discussing Metroid Dread. People are talking about what the game offers compared to other games. People are talking about the originators. You have people going back and forth, and all of this discussion is constantly giving the game free publicity, constantly giving the game, I would say, extra sales, possibly giving the game more future potential buyers just because it's always on Twitter, it's always on social media. People are always talking about this or that about Metroid Dread. I've seen it trending multiple different times pre-launch and post-launch when it comes to the game. Samus was trending, Metroid Dread was trending, Chozo I think at one point was a smaller trend, but that was going as well. So this is all good news. I mean, some of the controversies that we're going to talk about, we have the Twitter ones, right? The really stupid, I would say somewhat stupid controversies because most of the people that are making these comparisons don't know what they're talking about, but it's still something that's positive at the end of the day for Metroid Dread because people start comparing the footage, people start looking into it more and saying, well, wait a minute. If they're thinking, they're like, whoa, this game does this, and this. It doesn't really look like an indie game like a Hollow Knight. Not that that's a bad thing with Hollow Knight or anything, but you can clearly tell the time, effort, passion, and I would just say depth that Metroid Dread brings to that style of game that just isn't there for a Hollow Knight or a Dead Cells or a Shantae. It's just not there. The level of animations and quality, the boss fights, they just don't move, look, animate, and just play out like how Samus does in her adventure. And a lot of people are seeing that and even picking up Metroid Dread based off of weird comparisons that probably shouldn't made any more so than just, hey, these are games that were based off of the original formula of Metroid. That's pretty much where it should start and stop, but people are taking it further, and now more people are getting into Metroid more so if maybe they played a Hollow Knight or if they played a Shantae and all that, and maybe they weren't born when Metroid was in its heyday, because Metroid has definitely seen better days, but now that Dread is out, I think better days are coming. So that was the first thing. Once again, I think that's all positive. Even if you're on the side of saying that Metroid Dread Dread, it's not worth it because of the quality based of these other games, it still brings about the discussion where people can go and make their own informed decisions on there. And I want to bring up a quote from one of my good friends, my man Jackson. He's on Twitter. He's been following me for a very long time. And he had a great quote that he put up, or a great tweet that I'm going to quote here. And he says, "All publicity is good publicity. People taking cracks at the game aren't persuading anyone to adopt their ill-conceived opinions, but it can bring more awareness as people then research the game and form their own opinion, and most people are normal and don't nitpick, so they buy." And that's essentially what is happening, and what I've been stating is going to happen with this game. And we're seeing it right there with Amazon. We're seeing it right there with what's going on in the UK in terms, it was the highest grossing, because it's $60. It's obviously the most expensive Metroid game ever released at that 60, because before then it was just like what, Metroid Prime, those were $50 when they came out, on the Wii and on the GameCube and everything. So, and even Metroid Other M on the Wii, $50 for those games. So, and there was no Metroid games on the Nintendo Wii U for the HD system. So that's the reason that's there. But at the same time, it still just feeds into it, the positive, just like discussion, and feeds into the discussion of Metroid. This is the most that I've ever seen anybody talk about Metroid in all the time that I've been covering Metroid since 2009/2010, when I started dabbling into content creation. This is the most that I've ever seen anybody cover Metroid. So it's great. It's a great thing. Even when you talk about it from just online, like people talking on forums, on social media, on different types of places, or just like I would say message boards or N4G or wherever the case is, this is the most people have been talking about Metroid, hands down. So that's a good thing. That's definitely a good thing compared to what we had before. So very good there. But some of the other controversies are also helping out as well, like the game length discussion, like what is the right game length to charge $60, what is not, this game offers this and that. But I think that this game in particular, I think it speaks to a certain type of consumer that has grown up and has that 9 to 5 job, or has that 10-12 hour job, and doesn't want to spend 50 hours in a game. They just want a super high quality polished experience, probably anywhere between 8 to 15 hours, somewhere in that range, where that's where Metroid Dread pretty much lines up, 7 to 15 hours depending on your skill level and what you do and how many items you go for and all of that. So there are people who want that, and they will take that over a bloated experience that makes you do a bunch of extra things that you probably don't need to do, and it overstays its welcome. So do you want that super high quality experience that'll get you 8 to 10 hours that you're going to absolutely love every single second of it? Or is it worth that experience? It's like 20 hours that definitely has some bloat, where I was thinking, okay, I'm kind of ready for this to be done, a la Luigi's Mansion 3. I mean, great game and everything, but there's some parts where I'm like, okay, now I got to go back with this Polter Kitty and all that. That wasn't fun to me, at least. And it bloats the game, and in my opinion didn't necessarily need to be there. The game was fine with the length that it was, but it was pushing for maybe a bit more on there. So that's another controversy that I think that has positively affected, in my opinion, people going out there and getting the game, especially people that have the job and the kids and stuff that they're doing. This is perfect for them. And if you're somebody who loves Metroid, you're a core fan, there's stuff to do after you beat the game. There's other things that you unlock and other things that you can do, and this time it's not tied behind an amiibo when it comes to what they did with Metroid Samus Return. So that's definitely a positive. So I think that's feeding into it as well. All the videos people that are making on it, the guides people that are making on it, even the discussion on if it's too hard or not. And I love David Jackley. I think he's fantastic. I follow him. He's came up to my stream sometimes. I watch his content, but all the discussion that he's doing too, and talking about, is it too hard, and they're not giving visual cues for shooting above like a ceiling or whatever the case is. Even that type of stuff is, once again, more discussion on Metroid, more discussion that wouldn't have happened before one way or another. And you have people in long threads going back and forth on this type of stuff, once again, all feeding towards people doing their own research if they haven't played the game, or just talking about it more and getting more eyes, more free publicity, more free marketing on the game itself. Because there are people who do want that challenge in their games as well, in terms of exploration and not always wanting hand holding and for the game to tell you, okay, there's always something there and it's this and that, but you can explore and play the game yourself. So there's a market for everything, and Metroid Dread is definitely latching on to that market. I kind of see it similar in this point to like what Dark Souls did back in the day, or even Demon Souls. Like that type of market wasn't apparent. People wanted the easy games, the Assassin's Creed, stuff like that, you know, and this game, Demon Souls, came out of nowhere and said, okay, no more hand holding for these quote unquote AAA, you know, full price games. And they revolutionized, you know, when it comes like to that action type of game, that action RPG game. So I feel that Metroid Dread is also might inspire lots of other people to kind of get into the conversation, and maybe they're going to make a super high quality 2D game like a Castlevania or a Mega Man. I think this can definitely inspire some other companies to look at it, especially if it sells well, which it looks like it is. So I think the constant discussion, the constant talk back and forth, people researching, people doing their own thing, that's all fed into it. And even like I stated before launch, like the controversies with the marketing of the game, and is Nintendo spoiling too much? And now that I'm 8 hours plus in, getting towards the end, no, they didn't spoil too much. We had no idea what was going on, and they did a fantastic job marketing this game. But even that and all the videos that people made and the controversy surrounding that helped fuel what we're getting. So in my opinion, this was the absolute best thing that happened to Metroid Dread and the Metroid franchise. I want it to continue. I want more people to make stupid posts on Twitter, making dumb comparisons that don't even make sense or really just not really logical. Keep on doing that. Keep the discussion going. Keep people talking about Metroid Dread. Keep people buying the game. Keep people researching on what it is and if they'll like it. And let's get this franchise well past that 3 million, which was another thing, which is a little bit more of a smaller subset of people when it comes to myself and RGT Spawncast and all that. But even the discussion whether it's going to sell, that was a positive thing. You know, that was huge. There's been videos people have talked about it. People have bought it just because of that. So it's all great in my opinion, and it's all going to help Metroid Dread be the best selling Metroid game in the franchise in my opinion. So I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad that it's continuing to happen, and let's keep it going. Let's keep talking about this game because it needs it. But I do feel that Metroid Dread is doing fantastic based off of the previous series games, once again proving the switch effect, which I've talked about now for quite some time. So what are your thoughts on this when it comes to Metroid Dread and everything surrounding it? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button. If you forgot to do so, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.